Hi everyone, this is Tommy. Thank you for always watching my videos. Today I'd like to share a useful tip for therapists and trainers that can be applied during treatments. Our topic today is about foot care for people who walk a lot. We'll try to understand how to relieve foot fatigue by looking at the skeletal structure. Let's get started right away. First, let's take a look at the structure of the foot. The foot is composed of many small bones. Basically, it's said that each foot contains 26 bones. 26 bones and 33 joints. Additionally, there are over 100 muscular and tendon structures. It's also said that there are more than 200,000 nerve endings concentrated in the foot. This makes it a highly sensitive part of the body. Let's look at the foot structure in a bit more detail. First, let's focus on the ankle area. The ankle area is basically composed of 3 bones. The first one, located at the end of the shin bone, is the talus. This very thick bone at the end of the shin is called the talus. On the outside of the talus is a bone called the fibula. This bone connects directly to the ankle. In the ankle area, there's a bone called the calcaneus. Below the calcaneus are the heel bone and smaller bones. There are also several small cube-shaped bones. In the instep of the foot, there are bones called metatarsals. So we have the talus, fibula, and calcaneus, which forms the base, the heel bone and smaller bones, along with several cube-shaped bones, and finally, in the instep of the foot, we have the metatarsal bones. First of all, please understand this concept. Of course, all the small bones have specific names. If you're interested, please feel free to look those up as well. Let's discuss how the skeletal structure of the foot is used when walking. I'd like to introduce this using 3 key points. The first point is the existence of what's called the plantar fascia. The plantar part refers to the sole of the foot. Some of you might have heard the term plantar fascia before. Basically, it starts from the bottom part of the heel. The plantar fascia is the part that covers the entire sole of the foot. This plantar fascia acts as a kind of cushion and spring. When your foot touches the ground, the skeletal structure expands. This is because the weight of your body is transferred to your foot. The impact causes the skeleton to spread out. The plantar fascia limits this spreading movement. It also uses its elasticity to return the expanded skeleton back to its original position. This is another role of the plantar fascia, by absorbing the impact of landing and then rebounding. The plantar fascia in the sole of the foot connects this to the next movement. So if the landing impact is too strong or if there's too much repetitive movement, it inevitably puts a strain on the plantar fascia. This can lead to inflammation or injury. Moving on to the second point, let's talk about the foot itself. It's important to note that the foot rotates sideways. This is called pronation. Have you all heard the term pronation before? Pronation refers to the inward rolling of the foot. The basic structure of the foot is such that when you land, the movement always starts from the little toe side. If you look at the ankle bone and the heel bone, you'll notice that the outer heel bone is longer in shape. So the foot is designed in a way that when you relax, the little toe side naturally drops lower. This is what's known as an inward rolling motion. You might have heard the term internal rotation before. When the foot lands, it always enters from this inner area. After landing on the inner area, the entire sole of the foot makes contact, and then it flows outward in the opposite direction. Finally, it ends with a motion that pushes into the ground using the ball of the foot. The basic structure of foot landing is to start from the pinky side, make full contact, and then roll towards the thumb side. It moves from the inward direction to the outward direction. This is essentially an inward rotating movement, right? Because it's a movement that rotates inwardly, it's called internal rotation. Landing from the pinky side and rolling towards the thumb side, it's because of this internal rotation that the foot can withstand the impact of landing. If the foot structure couldn't perform this internal rotation movement, the impact would be felt directly on the sole and travel up to the ankle and knee, resulting in a much greater strain on the joints due to the strong impact. It's not good to land flat-footed and straight down. Please remember that this small rotational movement reduces the impact when the foot lands. The third part we'll discuss is the metatarsal area. The metatarsal bones are the parts that make up the arch of the foot. Basically, it's said that the metatarsal bones can expand laterally up to 15% when landing. This lateral expansion of the middle part of the foot helps to absorb the impact. The lateral plantar fascia, which I mentioned earlier, helps absorb vertical impact, while the metatarsal bones absorb lateral impact. By properly managing both vertical and lateral shock absorption, the foot is protected. These three basic structures, the lateral plantar fascia's shock absorption, underwater movement, and the expansion of the metatarsal bones, are essential knowledge for foot care. Therefore, when caring for the feet, we'll approach it with these concepts as our starting point. Let's start with the lateral plantar fascia. The lateral plantar fascia is an extremely tough, membrane-like tissue, so it's necessary to thoroughly massage and soften the heel area and the entire sole of the foot. When caring for it, remember that the fibers run vertically, so you need to approach it with stretching motions in that direction. You can use either a cap-like tool or a rolling method for this approach. The key is to apply stimulation in a vertical direction to the sole of the foot, stretching it firmly. Particularly for people who walk a lot, I think it's beneficial to give vertical rolling stimulation to the soles of the feet. This can be done using what's called a green bamboo step or even a golf ball. Place a piece of green bamboo or a golf ball under the sole of your foot and roll it vertically to provide stimulation. When pressure is applied, that area is stretched, which I believe results in very effective care. Next, let's discuss the second point, support for intrinsic foot movements. Supporting intrinsic foot movements is less about therapist care and more about choosing the right shoes, especially if the sole is very thick or has a rigid structure. It can inhibit intrinsic foot movements. When you're wearing shoes with thick soles, you tend to fall over easily if you try to land on the inside of your foot. This naturally leads to developing a habit of trying to land with your feet straight. The thicker or harder the soles of your shoes are, the more they interfere with your natural foot movement, especially when walking. That's why it's better to choose shoes that are thin and soft. This is an important piece of advice that therapists and trainers often give to their clients. So please remember it. Now, let's talk about the third part, which is the metatarsal bones. As I mentioned earlier, the metatarsal bones play a role in expanding the foot laterally. Therefore, it's necessary to take care of them so they can naturally expand sideways. The key point is that these bones are aligned vertically, so the movement should be like separating each bone individually. Do you understand this kind of movement? It's like moving each metatarsal bone in a zigzag pattern, as if you're spreading them vertically one by one. As a result, the muscles between the bones loosen up, allowing the foot to expand laterally. I encourage all of you to try this with your own feet. People whose metatarsal bones are very rigid and don't move apart easily are more prone to foot fatigue. Also, when it comes to metatarsal bones, shoes that are too narrow in width are not good. Since the metatarsal bones expand when you land your foot, it's better to choose shoes with enough width and flexibility to accommodate this expansion. If you wear very hard high heels or leather shoes, your metatarsal bones can't expand sideways, which isn't good for your feet. This leads to a very intense feeling of fatigue because it doesn't allow the impact to be absorbed properly. It's also not good when only the toe area of the shoe is extremely hard. Some women wear high heels with very narrow tips, but this can cause problems. While the metatarsal bones spread horizontally, if the toe area is narrowed and can't expand, it creates a problematic structure. As a result, you can see how this part of the foot bears a lot of strain. When the metatarsal bones spread horizontally, but the toe area is compressed, it creates a problematic structure. This can lead to conditions like hallux valgus or hammer toes. Therefore, it's better to choose shoes that allow the metatarsal and toe areas to spread as softly as possible. It's a good idea to select shoes with flexibility. Foot care is something you can practice on your own as well. The key is to focus on the fascia approach and creating free movement within the foot. It's also important to consider the flexibility of the metatarsal bones when thinking about treatment approaches. Please use these insights as advice for your clients, in addition to your usual treatments. We've also introduced more detailed information about foot care in the classroom section, so please check it out if you're interested. I'll add this to the summary section. That concludes today's video. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you very much for your continued support.